Do the Lions have the best offense in the NFL?
No. I'll say no because they showed me, unfortunately, I wish I could say they do, but they still do have those weeks. Like the Lions have had those weeks where they show me like, okay, no, hold up. Whenever a defense is going to show up and play them in really elite that day, like they might not have it like that yet. Like they still have had those games where they got shut out. But I'll say Lions have shown us they're a top 5 offense, even borderline top 3 offense, where they're going to show up 9 out of 10 weeks, right? And yeah, this was just another game where it shows you. But it's funny because, it's like I wish I could gas the Lions offense more on this one. I think really what I'm going to turn this into is I'm going to turn it more into like, no, this is just Brandon Staley's defense. Like this, I think this is just the Staley defense effect.
Okay.
Like, yeah, because we already knew the Lions offense is good. When you bring a good offense against a garbage defense, like the Chargers, garbage.
Yeah, you can look at it like that. And now that you say that, looking at it that light, like I more agree with that because this defense has too many pieces on it for it to be that bad.
Well, that's where it's like, me. I'm big on like carrying my narratives over from last year. But that's what's funny is this is not a narrative from last year. This is about a 2-year-old narrative at this point. Like Staley has consistently showed you he's not the guy. Like, what more do you want? At this point, Telesco needs to see him holding up a fucking sign that says, yo, Telesco, I'm literally not the guy for shit. Because he, like, I tell you, none of the other signs break through to the ownership group at this point. Like, nothing breaks through. They apparently, I get it. I'm being a dick because they're not going to fire him halfway through the year. The Chargers are still competitive enough, and right, it's like you have enough of a chance with, and right, I get it, the optics of the team that you can't fire a guy like that mid-season. But if you don't fire him after this year, as you should have fired him after last year, jig's up. I mean, I have no faith in anything about the organization at that point. I don't think that's going to be the case. But what I'm really trying to say is if you're a Chargers fan, this year's got to feel like shit because you're like, well, we just held ourselves back a year on the Herbert contract because we have the most inept defensive coach ever claiming and faking he's a head coach.
Well, the thing that's frustrating too is like you see this resurgence of like Keenan Allen with Justin Herbert playing out so well. And I would attribute that to Kellen Moore, but it's almost like, damn, your offense is actually operating like they should, and your defense can't pick it up. Like, Keenan Allen is just out of his mind this year. And to kind of go on the opposite side of the Brandon Staley sucks, I mean, like, Dan Campbell, Coach of the Year, maybe?
I think if we're looking at it from the with the optics point of view, you got to give it to him, right? Because, like I said before we started this segment, there's been a few other fans, like Eagles fans, trying to claim like, no, Nick Sirianni turned this franchise around the same way he did. It's like, if you're looking at it without any context, but we're looking at it in context of like, the Eagles and the Lions are 2 completely different franchises. The Lions literally were the most bleak outlook team for 60 plus years. And you have Dan Campbell come in here, completely changed around in 3 seasons. Yeah, I think from that perspective, you have to give it to Dan. And when you look at that, no, it's way different than Nick Sirianni, who comes into a franchise that had just won their first Super Bowl. Yeah, disappointing time after it. But you get what I'm saying? We see Doug is still a guy.
Yeah.
No, Nick's like, it is what it is. But to compare Nick and Dan Campbell, and I think to compare anybody to Dan Campbell at this point, and what Dan has done with the Lions, it's disrespectful.
I mean, Goff, Amon-Ra are lighting it up. Both the running backs are lighting it up. Like, the Lions offense is just electric. I don't really know what more there is to say about the Lions offense. I mean, do you have any closing thoughts in regards to that? Because like Amon-Ra has been playing out of his mind.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that I really wanted to say, yeah, I mean, the 4 straight weeks of 100 plus receiving yards is just, I mean, I knew he was on a streak, but I know he was streaking like that. And yeah, last note I had to say, because it really is, I have to give them their props. I mean, that Lions running back room is just an offensive coordinator's dream. Like,
oh, yeah.
You have the balance, the speed, the burst of Jameer and the pass catching ability, but then you also got this big, bruising, wrecking, just mean fucking, just, I want to take the whole rest of the team down, David Montgomery. Like, that's just, you can't draw up a better combo than that.